Welcome to this week's episode of Black Plague Precision, where we're going to take an in-depth look at MK Machining's single shot sled. Let's jump into it. All right, guys, so this is going to be a quick one today. Now, if you don't know this about me, hopefully you do, but if you don't, I have transitioned from PRS shooting to F-class shooting, and because of that, I no longer use a magazine for my competition shooting. I use single feed sleds. So I've been using one and it's a little heavy, it's a little short, and I thought this was a good time to test out a new product, and that's why I decided to reach out and work with MK Machining. Now they have a variety of different sleds that you can put in, but the one I'm using is for my MDT ACC. So let's go ahead and jump into this install video and I'll give you guys my first thoughts on this product. All right, guys, so on the left is the original bobsled. That's what I've been using for the last year and a half. I could not find a single feed sled that I really was interested in. And somebody on social media turned me over to bobsled, and it's been working great. But as you guys can see here, it is significantly shorter, and it's a little more heavy because it is a full, I'm fairly certain, solid block of, metal. And so it's worked great. I haven't had any problems with it. I mean, there's not any innate problems with that product, but I thought this would be a good idea to get something that was maybe a little bit lighter. I do have a 22-pound weight restriction when it comes to F-class competition shooting. So that's why I decided to check this out and see where I can maybe make some adjustments, and maybe it's a better product. We'll see. So you can see the difference here from the sides, from the top. They're both nice products, but one is, 3D printed. The other one is, so far as I can tell, machined. Nice, heavy, and robust. Now, I want to pause here because I want to show you guys the difference. This is the thing that sort of frustrated me a little bit about this piece. Now, this is going to be a preference thing, but for me, I have a feel that I need for when I'm shooting. It's really important to me that I'm comfortable. It's really important that everything is easily and accessible for me. And sometimes that's not the case. And I've been making adjustments on my rig for that purpose. And so you'll see here that when I do this install, you can see that it totally disappears. It's not there. And when I'm taking it out, that's where we start to see the problem. So it fits fine, it's working fine, but when I drop it like that, that's how I have to drop it. I can't grab it because there's no room. It's all the way in there. It's not very comfortable. Right now I'm on the side of the rifle, but particularly when I'm behind it, I don't very much like that. I don't like that I normally just push it out and have to let it drop down. And again, this is very much a preference thing, but for me, that's how I felt about it. I wasn't a huge fan of that. Now you can see here that there's a little more clearance on this one. I can get my finger right there into that little ridge and I can grab it. Plus it is lighter. And so for me, that was important because I was making additions to my rig. If you haven't seen my past video, and this is part of the series with MK Machining, I put a new magnifier on and I put a new bubble level on, and that was gonna add a bit of weight. And so I wanted to see where I can do some weight reductions. So a little bit, a little bit easier to grasp and things like that. Now, this here is what I was sort of wondering about, like how are these bullets gonna sit in here? Is that any different? What sort of impact could that potentially make? Particularly because one is metal, so I would sort of figure that that's not gonna have any issues with it deteriorating. But again, I think the other one would be fine too. So you can see here, they're both solid pieces. And I'm going to show you guys in a little bit, this little wiggle that I did with it. But you can see here, it's this design on MK Machining, the way it sits or the way the bowl is in there, it sits a lot more centered. There's a lot less give in it. I don't know if that's a huge problem. Obviously I'm gonna have to go out, I'm gonna have to test this on the feeding, and I don't necessarily have any issues feeding with the current system I'm running, but it does feel like sometimes there's maybe a little like there's a little pressure on it that shouldn't be there, and I'm not super sure, but you can see here like it sits very much in that little groove. And this one for some reason has a much bigger well there, much bigger one, and there's a lot more left and right to it. I don't know if that's better. I don't know if that's worse. I'm gonna test them out, but ultimately that, it's interesting that there is that difference. All right, so before we get into loading anything, this rifle is cleared. There's no ammo in it, and the ammo, the products that I'm going to be loading into it are snap caps. They're not real ammo. There's no safety issues here, so please keep the video up. So again, you can see right there, it's red, it's fake, it's not real, it's just for training. 6.5 Creedmoor, if you guys are wondering what I'm running. So what I'm going to be doing is, just because I wanted to show you guys, I'm going to be showing you the magazines I was running, what that feeding looks like. Now, if you're wondering why not use the magazine, one, I'm not even fairly certain you're allowed to use the magazine. I think you can, but I've sort of heard people like, oh, you shouldn't use the magazine. Now, the main concern that I have is the magazines are spring, right? Spring fed. So you put it in, the spring holds it. Now that springs lose tension over time. And so I don't want that to be a factor in my shooting. Will it make any sort of significant difference? I really don't know, but I don't want to even have to worry about it. And that's the reason I decided to do this. Now this is a polymetal mag from MDT. This is the one that I use most frequently when I was doing PRS training and things like that. And you can see like it goes in there. There's a lot of give. I sort of wish they made them just as long as those magazines too, because they'll fit into like side holsters and things like that. But it's fine. Like it works, and you can see I had sort of a feeding problem there, but that's fine. It's in. Everything works good. Great magazine. There's no problems with it at all. It's just I'm worried about that. Now this is the metal mag from MDT. I've used this one less, but it works just the same. I've heard different things like poly mags are better, metal bags are better, whatever. But for me, I like the poly ones because they're a little nicer looking, and they're lighter. All right, so now we have the bobsled. Again, great piece, very well constructed. There's nothing innately wrong with it. It's made in the USA, but again, I'm looking for something a little bit lighter. I'm looking for something. You can sort of see how it just disappears. I'm just not a huge fan of that, but mostly the weight is what I'm worried about. So you can see it feeds perfectly fine, and I wouldn't say don't get it if you don't need to worry about weight. And you can see that's like how I have to drop it out every time, which I just don't like it, having to drop it down like that, but it's often most comfortable. And then here you can see we have the MK Machining single shot sled. It's really nicely made. Actually, I like that little cutout on the bottom, oddly enough. But you can see it's not as heavy, which for me is really important. And so far as feeding goes, it seems like it feeds relatively the same. No particular issues on that front. All right, guys. So like I said, it's going to be a quick one today. My first thoughts on this is it feels good. It's lighter. It feeds just as well. I don't know, better. I like that there's less give because the bowl isn't sort of as wide. So I'm pretty excited to take it out. Now, I'm planning on doing 100 yards, 300 yards, 1,000 yards with this. So a little bit of time, a little bit of effort that has to be put behind it. But again, this is for competition F-class shooting, and so it's really important to me that I get some rounds around it. But I definitely think, just from first thoughts, that is something you should check out if you're interested in single feeding or you need it for competition shooting. And pairing this along with the other MK machining products I have, I'm feeling pretty confident about it, that it's going to make an impact in my shooting. So I'll see you guys in the next video.